Hey everybody, it's Jose Laya and I'm back. And the second quarter market data is in. That's going to be the purpose of this video. But before we dive into that, I just want to say, I was born and raised here in Miami and I'm very passionate about the city. I've been in this real estate business for 18 years now and nothing excites me more than helping people. I'm someone that I put clients first and I just want to say thank you. Thank you to those that these videos have made an impact on. People have actually reached out to me either by calling me on my cell phone. They've reached out to me through direct messages on social media. And it's been pretty comforting to see these messages come in. And I'm actually working with some people that have reached out to me through social media as a result of the videos. So I just want to say thank you to those out there. I make these videos purposefully just to put information out there on the market. I think what resonates with people is my candor. It's just my nature of who I am, who you see in the videos, who you'll see in person when we meet or when we talk. But at the same time, I'm not up here just talking about what I think about the market. I like showing the actual data and sharing it with you. And I think that's resonated with people and I think it's made an impact. So I just wanted to start with that and say thank you. I'm happy that my efforts, are going out there and helping people. So I really enjoy providing value to people out there. And of course, I'm always available to help anyone. So just wanted to start by saying thank you. And let's dive right in. So the purpose of today's video, second quarter data is in. And you know me, I like to share things in graphs so that you can actually see it for yourself. And then I'll share my market opinion on what I think of where we are today and where we're headed. The second quarter data, what we're going to do, what we did in these graphs, is that we're going to compare 2023's second quarter to last year's second quarter results, but also to previous years, just to give us an idea as to where the market is today. At the same time, what we did is that we separated the data between single family homes and condos, and we took the segments of the market within areas of Miami that are, areas that we follow and the more popular areas in Miami. So right now we're going to jump into the data in the graphs. We'll start with the single family homes and then we'll go to the condos. And then after I share these two graphs with you, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a summary of not only where the market is right now, but where we think it's going. So let's dive right into the first graph. Here we go. We're covering single family homes in the more popular areas of Miami and areas that we do business in as well. So we know them pretty well. It's Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, which is all of Coral Gables, so north and south, and then also homes in Pinecrest, single family homes in Pinecrest. And let's dive right into the data. Here we go. So you'll see for 2023, second quarter data for Coconut Grove, there was 55 sales. And if you look at the previous year, there was 50 sales. In 2021, which was a perfect storm for real estate in the second quarter of 2021, in Coconut Grove, there's 111 sales versus 1555. Let's hop right over to Coral Gables, second quarter for this year, 111 sales versus the previous year, 129. Let's hop over to Pinecrest, 66 sales versus 74 the prior year. And of course, 2021, which was just again, the perfect storm for real estate, 143. So pretty much across the board, you see a trend here, with the exception of Coconut Grove, where the sales went from 50 to 55. In Coral Gables and Pinecrest together, they both went down. The number of sales decreased 14% and 11% respectively. But more importantly, the prices actually held in Coconut Grove and went up about 10% in Coral Gables and 10% in Pinecrest. That's the median price per square foot for homes sold. So what are we noticing? We're noticing the number of sales decline, but prices are actually holding or increasing. Now, the reason I like putting prior years of data in the graph is because 2021 was such a perfect storm of real estate that it skewed all the numbers. It really has. So it doesn't really give us a sense as to where the market is. That's why I like putting not 2020, because 2020 is when the pandemic hit and that wouldn't be a normal year, but 2019 would be the first normal year for data that we can see in the real estate market. And that's why I like putting it in this graph. So what does that show you? Look at the number of sales for the second quarter of 2019 for these three segments of the market: Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, and Pinecrest. Look at the number of sales. In Coconut Grove, 60 in second quarter of 2019. What did we have this quarter? 55. About the same, a little bit less. Jump over to Coral Gables. In 2019 second quarter, they had 121 sales. This year's second quarter, 111. Pinecrest, 65 in 2019 second quarter. 2023 second quarter, 66. So if we were to remove 2020, 21, and 22 and put those 2 years together, 2019, which was like, I guess, the most normal year that we've had in the last few years, versus this year, the numbers look pretty much the same as far as number of sales is concerned. What obviously sticks out is a huge increase in pricing that we experienced. And even though we started to see some momentum of that price slowing down last year, right now, because of the low inventory, the number of sales that are happening is actually happening at an increased price versus last year's second quarter. But I like pointing that out about 2019 because the actual number of sales, people could point to last year in 21 and say, hey, oh my God, the number of sales has slowed down dramatically, and it has. But to put it in context, look at it historically and recently, the last few years, and you can kind of tell that the number of sales is kind of going back to normal because they're very similar to the numbers that we saw in 2019. So that's what we can see by the graph. That's not me coming up with this great strategy or opinion. I mean, the numbers clearly show it here that it seems like we're going back to a more normal level of sales, but pricing is still elevated. So let's jump into the next graph now for the condos. And I think you'll see a pretty similar trend happening there as well. Okay, so we have the graph up for the condos. In the second quarter closed sales, we took three different areas of Miami. We took downtown Miami, we took Brickell, and we took south of 5th in Miami Beach. In downtown Miami, we've got 900 Biscayne, in Brickell, Jade Brickell, and in south of 5th, we took Marano Grande, 400 Alton Road. These three buildings and areas are areas we know very well, and it's also areas and buildings that we do business in. So we're very familiar with the data. Let's jump right in. So 900 Biscayne on the first column, they had 11 closed sales in this second quarter at a median price per square foot of $696. If you look at that to last year, the number of sales is down slightly, but the price actually increased 7%. Interesting. So prices seem to be holding. If not holding, they're increasing. Over at Jade Brickell, they went from 7 sales last year, second quarter, to 9. Price went down a little bit, 12% to $932. Over Marano Grande, this one was interesting because they went from 6 sales to 1 closed sale for the whole second quarter. And even though the price is almost $1,600 a foot, it's not really a median. It's not an average because it was just 1 sale, so that kind of skews the data. We got to take that with a grain of salt. What we can see though is that with the exception of 900 Biscayne, which that's very high for the number of sales when you look at previous years, second quarter is Jade Brickell and Marano Grande. They had 7 sales in 2019 and 1 over in 400 Alton Road. This year, 9 and 1. Pretty similar. It kind of points to the same data that we saw in the single family housing market, where the number of sales seems to be kind of coming back to a more normal level. So that's the graph for the condos. I love showing you the actual numbers so you can see the data. Now let's give you a summary of where we think the market is going and where we are today. So now we've just seen both graphs for single family homes and condos for second quarter closed sales versus other years' second quarters. Now, what clearly stood out from the graph is that yes, this second quarter versus previous years, the number of sales has declined. However, for the most part, prices are holding, and in a lot of areas, prices have increased. Now, the reason I like to put quite a few years of data on these graphs is because there's a lot of people out there and people say, oh man, the number of sales is declining dramatically. And the truth of the matter is, yes, it has. If you only look at 2023 versus 22 and 21, which to be honest, any data compared to 21 especially, and even 22, it's going to be off somewhat because 21 was just a perfect storm of real estate, and the truth of the matter is that any data compared to that, those numbers are going to be off. Now, when we looked at 2019, which was like the last quote-unquote normal year, the number of closed sales actually resembles what we saw now in 2023. Granted, prices are a lot higher, but the number of closed sales was pretty in line across the board. You know, that kind of indicates to us that we are going back to a more normal market as far as the number of closed sales. Obviously, compared to 21 and 22, the sales have gone down. But if you look at it on a historical context, it seems to be leveling off and going back to a more normal market. Prices are still high, and the truth of the matter is that that's just basic law of supply and demand. Demand for residential real estate in Miami, and obviously in the areas that we cover, which are the more popular areas, demand is still very high, and supply just hasn't caught up yet. Supply is still low, and we really believe that that's going to continue for a while. You know, we don't know if it's going to be months or if it's going to be another year of this, but for the foreseeable future, that's pretty much the trend that we see happening. That being said, when we were compiling the data for closed sales for the second quarter of this year, we did notice a noticeable difference between the beginning of the second quarter and the end of the second quarter closed sales. There is a dramatic slowdown from the end of the second quarter versus the beginning of the second quarter. You know, at the beginning of this year, you know, the market really took off, and that started when interest rates, they were hovering around, you know, they were over 7% when 2022 ended. So in December, you can look at it, November, December, interest rates were over 7%. And then in January, they started inching down. And about the first week of January, they actually hit below 6%. And that really triggered and started, you know, the forward momentum for residential sales here in Miami. And I think across the board, across the states, that forward momentum definitely stopped around the middle of the second quarter. So we actually feel that it's important, and we're going to highlight it with a separate video to show the data for this year. So we're going to do a mid-year update for closed sales in the Miami residential market, because we saw something that we feel needs to be addressed, and you guys need to see it. So look forward to that video coming up soon. While the momentum may have slowed, what we need to determine, and only time will tell, is if the momentum slowed because of a slowdown in the market, or did we just hit that summertime low? You know, we all know most families, when summertime comes, travel. This is a big summer season, traveling over to Europe, traveling overseas. We have plenty of clients, friends, and coworkers overseas. So it may have been a summertime low, or it may have been the market slowing down. We're not certain yet as to where it's going to go. So buyers, inventory remains low, and interest rates are still hovering around 6 to 7%. And finding that perfect home can be a challenge. So start your home search early. Luckily though, for you, the days of sky-high pricing are over. Sellers are willing to negotiate, and they're more accommodating on contingencies. So that's good news for you. Keep in mind though, that a home priced correctly will still receive a few offers and be sold within 1 to 2 weeks of being listed. Start your home search early and work with a professional to guide you through this market, because it is challenging. Sellers, the market is still strong, but it's very sensitive to price. Buyers are a lot more cautious nowadays when they're walking through your home or even looking for homes online. So you have to listen to your real estate agent to price your property correctly. If you price it correctly, it will more than likely sell within the first 1 to 2 weeks of being listed, either at the listing price or very close to it. We still continue to see a big gap between updated turnkey properties versus properties that need to be updated. What we suggest to sellers that have properties that need to be updated is that in order to sell it in this market, you need to price it below the market so you can attract the most attention to it right away, and it'll still sell pretty fast. We also want to indicate to sellers that there's a metric that we use and even buyers are using. Obviously, for the last couple of years, real estate has sold within a matter of sometimes days, hours, maybe a week or so, at listing, above listing. So buyers are very cognizant of the fact of what's really going on in the real estate market. Not only that, but they have short-term memories. So now we're starting to see, if you're not priced correctly, the property will not sell in that first 1 to 2 weeks. And we are starting to see a key metric, days on market. We're starting to see days on market increase for properties. So if you don't make it out of that first 1 to 2, 3 weeks of being listed, more than likely you're not priced correctly, and or there could be something wrong with the property that maybe you're not displaying on videos, maybe you're not displaying on the photos that are only seen once you show up there, and or also the condition of the property may not be up to par. But at the same time, all that can be negated or resolved if you adjust the price properly. So again, key metric, days on market, we are starting to see it increase. Sellers, take note. Please work with a professional who's going to guide you through this, because the market is starting to be very sensitive, not only to price, condition. It's getting tricky out there and it's getting challenging. So work with a professional who's going to guide you through so you can accomplish your goal of selling your property for the highest price in the shortest amount of time. So that's it for now. Please know that we always have our finger on the pulse of the market, and we have boots on the ground daily. So feel free to ask me any questions about any segment of the market that maybe I haven't covered here. Ask me about any area of the market, any neighborhood. I'd be happy to help and answer any of those questions. Stay tuned to our next market update, because as I said, the end of this summer and fall is going to be very interesting to see where we go from here. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope I was able to provide some value and to someone out there, and I'm always available to help. Have a great one. We'll talk soon.